He sat next to me at the pool bar, then his hand moved and the moment changed everything. The warmth of his palm against my thigh sent a jolt through me, like lightning cracking the humid Miami night, and I froze, my cocktail glass halfway to my lips, heart slamming against my ribs as if it knew this stranger was about to unravel the careful stitches I'd sewn over my broken life. "I'm Christopher," he said, his voice low and gravelly, like the rumble of thunder over the ocean. And in that instant, I realized I'd just invited chaos into my carefully guarded solitude. I wasn't supposed to be here, drowning in rum and regret at this overpriced South Beach hotel. I'd flown in from New York on a whim, fleeing the ghost of my ex's laughter echoing through my empty Brooklyn apartment. 3 years wasted on Jake, who decided one rainy Tuesday that loving a man like me wasn't enough anymore, that he needed something real. The word still burned like cheap whiskey, so I'd booked the first flight south, telling myself it was for the sun, the reset, the chance to feel alive again without the weight of winter pressing down. But here I was, 28 and adrift, nursing a piña colada that tasted more like salt water than paradise, when Christopher slid onto the stool beside me. His hand lingered just a second too long before pulling away, casual as if it were nothing, but his eyes, God, those eyes, the color of the pool lights dancing on the water, held mine with an intensity that made the air thicken. He was older, maybe mid-30s, with sun-kissed skin stretched over broad shoulders, a faded navy t-shirt clinging to his chest like it had been washed 100 times. A wedding band glinted on his left hand under the bar's amber glow, but I pushed the thought aside. People wore those for all sorts of reasons down here, souvenirs from bad decisions, shields against the world. "You look like you could use a refill," he said, signaling the bartender with a nod that spoke of easy confidence, the kind New Yorkers faked but Miamians wore like second skin. His accent was pure southern drawl softened by city edges. Atlanta roots, maybe transplanted to the coast. I managed a laugh, brittle and unconvincing, and slid my glass toward him. "Alex," I replied, extending a hand that felt too clammy. His grip was firm, calloused fingers wrapping around mine, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to the heat of that contact. We talked like we'd known each other in another life. He was in town for a conference, something vague about real estate development, the kind of job that paid for poolside bars and pressed khakis. I told him about my graphic design gigs, the freelance hustle that kept me afloat but never quite dry. Laughter came easier with him, spilling out in waves as he recounted a botched client pitch involving a malfunctioning projector and a room full of suits. His stories painted him as the guy who fixed things. Leaky roofs, broken deals, lonely nights. But there was a shadow in his pauses, a flicker in his eyes when the conversation veered too close to home. 2 drinks in, the bar emptied out, leaving us cocooned in the hum of cicadas and distant reggaeton beats from the beach clubs. The pool shimmered like liquid sapphire, inviting and treacherous. "Swim?" he asked, standing abruptly, peeling off his shirt in one fluid motion that revealed a torso etched with the faint scars of old battles. Maybe a bar fight, maybe something deeper. I hesitated, my own body a map of insecurities. The soft belly from too many late-night takeouts, the tattoo on my ribs that read resilient in looping script, a reminder from a therapist I couldn't afford anymore. But his grin disarmed me, boyish and bold. So I followed, shedding my clothes down to boxers that suddenly felt too exposing. The water was shockingly cool against the sticky heat, and we dove in tandem, surfacing with gasps and splashes that dissolved into shared, breathless laughter. Underwater, our legs brushed. Accidental at first, then deliberate, and when we treaded water face to face, the space between us hummed with possibility. His hand found my waist then, pulling me closer, and I didn't pull away. Our lips met in a kiss that tasted of salt and rum, fierce and unhurried, the kind that rewrites your history in a single breath. We didn't make it back to the bar. His room was on the 5th floor, ocean view, with sheets that tangled around us like conspirators. Christopher moved like he was composing a symphony. Slow builds, crashing crescendos. His hands mapping every inch of me with a reverence that made me feel seen, not just desired. "You're beautiful," he whispered against my neck, words I'd heard before but never believed until now. Afterward, we lay spent and sticky, the ceiling fan stirring the air like a lazy heartbeat. He traced lazy circles on my chest, and I asked about the ring. Ex-wife, he said, voice muffled against my shoulder. Long story. Not tonight. I let it go because in that moment, the truth felt secondary to the miracle of his body pressed to mine. Morning came with the ferocity of a hangover and the sting of reality. Sunlight sliced through the blinds, painting stripes across his sleeping form. I slipped out before he woke, leaving a note on hotel stationery. Thanks for the reset. Let's do it again sometime. Alex. Cowardly, maybe, but safe. Back in my room, I packed with shaking hands, the ghost of his touch lingering like a bruise. My flight was at noon, and as the cab wove through palm-lined streets toward the airport, I convinced myself it was a one-night fever dream, the kind you chase with coffee and denial. But Miami had other plans. 2 days later, back in the gray drizzle of Brooklyn, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Missed you this morning. Dinner when you're back east? See. My stomach flipped. How had he gotten my number? The note. I'd scribbled it on the hotel pad, but my digits were there, impulsive scrawl. I stared at the screen for an hour, thumbs hovering, before typing, "You're on, but only if you spill the long story." We met in Manhattan, neutral ground. A dimly lit Italian spot in the village where the pasta was al dente and the wine flowed like confessions. Christopher looked different in the city. Crisper shirt, hair tamed, but that grin unchanged, lighting up the booth like a flare. Over carbonara and Chianti, the story unfolded. Married at 22 to Emily, high school sweetheart turned college regret. A son, Michael, now 10, with his mother's curls and his father's stubborn streak. The divorce 2 years back, amicable on paper but a war in the quiet hours. I love him, Michael. I mean more than anything, Christopher said, his fork pausing mid-air, eyes distant. But Emily, she couldn't handle it. Me being gay. Said it was a phase, that I was throwing away our family for a fantasy. The word hung heavy, laced with the bitterness of battles fought in courtrooms and custody hearings. He'd come out late, after years of suppressing the pull he'd always felt toward men. The locker room glances, the delayed heartbeats at certain smiles. Miami was his escape, a conference that doubled as reconnaissance for a new life. And me? You were the first real thing in a long time, he admitted, reaching across the table to lace his fingers with mine. I squeezed back, the ring's absence on his hand a small victory, even as the shadow of Michael loomed. We dove into something reckless and real. Weekends blurred into stolen hours. Brunches in Central Park where he'd sketch Michael's latest soccer triumphs on napkins. Hikes upstate where we'd fuck in the woods like teenagers evading curfew. He was a natural dad in stories. Proud of the kids' art projects, agonized over missed birthdays, but guarded about the ex, deflecting with kisses when I pressed. I fell hard. The kind of love that reshapes your skyline, turning brownstones into beacons. For the first time since Jake, I let myself dream. Us, tangled in a queen-sized bed in some Jersey suburb, building a life from fragments. But cracks spiderwebbed early. Late-night calls he'd take in the hall, voice dropping to murmurs that twisted my gut. Just work, he'd say, sliding back under the covers, but his body tensed like a wire. One night, after a particularly brutal argument with Emily over holiday custody, he showed up at my door soaked from a sudden downpour, eyes red-rimmed. We didn't speak at first, just stripped and showered together, water sluicing away the evidence of tears. In bed, he broke. She knows about you, threatened to use it against me in court. Says I'm unstable, a risk to Michael. His voice cracked on the boy's name, and I held him as sobs racked his frame, the man who'd seemed unbreakable fracturing in my arms. I promised we'd fight it together, lawyers, mediators, whatever it took. But doubt crept in like fog off the East River. Was I the villain in their story? The homewrecker redux? Christopher swore no, that Emily's barbs were desperation, not truth. Still, the calls multiplied, and one evening, Scrolling Instagram in a haze of insomnia, I stumbled on her profile. Photos of Michael. Gap-toothed grins at baseball games, finger paints smeared with primary colors. And there, in the background of a family barbecue shot from last summer, pre-divorce haze, Christopher, arm around her waist, laughing like he belonged. Jealousy hit like a sucker punch, irrational and raw. I confronted him over takeout Thai, voice sharper than intended. Are you sure you're done? That you don't miss it? The white picket fence bullshit. He recoiled, fork clattering to the plate. What the hell, Alex? This is us. You're us. But his eyes darted away, and in that evasion, I saw the ghost of betrayal. Not his but mine, for believing too soon. The high came crashing in autumn, leaves turning the park into a blaze of reds and golds. We'd planned a weekend getaway to the Berkshires, a cabin with a stone fireplace and no cell service, just us and the rustle of wind through maples. It was perfect. Mornings tangled in flannel sheets, afternoons hiking trails that smelled of damp earth and pine. That night, by firelight, he got down on one knee. Not with a ring, but a key to an apartment he'd sublet in Chelsea. Move in with me, he said, voice thick with emotion. Build this for real. Tears pricked my eyes as I pulled him up, kissing him with a hunger that sealed the deal. For the first time, I saw our future. Holidays with Michael warming to me, summers in Miami chasing that first spark. But paradise fractures. 2 weeks later, the call came while I was at a client meeting in Midtown. Christopher's text. Emergency. Michael's hurt. Call me. My heart seized. I bolted from the conference room, hailing a cab to his office downtown. He was pacing the lobby when I arrived, face ashen. Thai askew. Bike accident, he explained, words tumbling out. Broken arm, nothing major, but Emily's flipping out, blaming me for not being there last weekend. The custody handoff had been tense. She'd accused him of prioritizing his boyfriend over fatherhood. Now, with Michael in the ER, stitches from a wipeout on a BMX track, she'd filed an emergency motion to suspend visits. We raced to the hospital in the Bronx, the cab ride a blur of honking horns and my hand gripping his. Michael was in a curtained bay, small and pale under fluorescent lights, his left arm in a blue cast adorned with sharpadoodles from nurses. He looked up as we entered, eyes lighting at Christopher. Dad, look, I drew a shark on it. Christopher scooped him up in a hug, careful of the injury, murmuring praises that melted the boy's initial wariness. Then Michael's gaze shifted to me, curious and appraising. Who's that? This is Alex, Christopher said, voice steady but laced with plea. My friend. He's good with art. Maybe he can help with those doodles. I knelt, offering a smile that felt genuine despite the knot in my throat. Sharks are my specialty. Got a fin or two in mind. Michael grinned, gap flashing, and for a moment, the room warmed. We spent the next hour there, me sketching silly sea monsters on his cast while Christopher fielded calls from Emily outside. The boy chattered about school, his crush on a classmate named Tyler, and how he'd totally nailed the jump before eating pavement. In his innocence, I glimpsed the man Christopher must have been. Fearless, full of light. Leaving the hospital, Michael hugged me goodbye. Awkward, one-armed, whispering, "Draw me a dragon next time." In the elevator, Christopher sagged against the wall, exhaling like he'd held his breath for hours. "Thank you," he said, pulling me close, "for being you." But outside, under sodium street lamps, Emily waited, arms crossed, lawyer in tow. Her eyes raked over me like I was evidence in a crime scene. This is him? The reason my son almost didn't have his father today. Her voice was steel wrapped in silk, the accent pure Georgia debutante. Christopher stepped forward, shield raised. Alex had nothing to do with this. It was an accident, kid's fall. But she wasn't hearing it, launching into a tirade about instability, about how his lifestyle endangered Michael. The lawyer murmured legalese, papers rustling like accusations. I stood frozen, the chill of rejection seeping in, until Christopher snapped, "Enough! We're doing this in court, not the parking lot. He grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the subway, but the damage lingered, a bruise blooming in the space between us. That night, in the Chelsea apartment we'd barely unpacked, the fight erupted. "She's right, isn't she?" I hurled, pacing the living room strewn with boxes. "I'm the complication, the thing she uses to keep you away from him." Christopher's face crumpled. "No, you're the best thing. But God, Alex, Michael's my world. I can't lose him." His admission hung, not a betrayal but a truth we'd both dodged. Love divided is love halved. We made up in the dark, bodies seeking solace, but the seed of doubt had taken root. Winter clamped down on the city like a vice, snow piling against windowsills, mirroring the drifts building between us. Christopher threw himself into the custody battle, depositions, character witnesses, endless afternoons in fluorescent-lit offices. I supported from the sidelines, cooking meals he barely touched, attending hearings where I sat in the back row like a shadow. Michael texted me sporadically, photos of his cast progress, questions about dragon lore, and those snippets kept me tethered, a reminder that maybe, just maybe, I could fit into this fractured family. But betrayal wears many faces, and his came softly, insidious as melting sleet. It started with the late nights at the office, evolving into overnights at Emily's to see Michael. Innocent, he insisted, movie nights, homework help, but the photos on her socials told a different tale. Christopher tucking the boy in, her hand lingering on his shoulder in thanks, the three of them framed like a portrait from before. I confronted him one February evening, snow howling outside our window, my voice breaking as I thrust my phone at him. "This isn't co-parenting. This is you slipping back." He denied it at first, anger flashing hot. "You're paranoid. It's for Michael." But the fight escalated, words like shrapnel. My insecurities, his divided loyalties, the impossibility of us against the tide of blood and history. In the heat, he let slip the truth I'd feared. "I miss it sometimes. The ease, the normalcy. Not her, but us as a family." The room spun. Betrayal, raw and unadorned. I packed a bag that night, crashing at a friend's in Queens, the subway rattle a dirge for what we'd built. Weeks blurred into a cold war of texts and silences. He begged me to return, promising therapy, boundaries with Emily, anything. I wavered, drawn by memories of poolside sparks and hospital hugs, repelled by the ache of being second. The climax shattered on a March afternoon, slate skies threatening storms. Michael's school called, fever, possible flu, and Christopher, tied up in a deposition, texted me in desperation. "Can you pick him up? Emily's out of town." My heart clenched. This was the test, the leap. I arrived at the elementary school in the Bronx, signing him out with a forged familiarity, Michael's small hand trusting in mine as we cabbed to the apartment. He was flushed, listless, but perked at the sight of our Christopher's place. "Alex, Dad said you'd draw that dragon." We spent the afternoon on the couch, soup simmering, crayons scattered, me sketching while he dozed against my side. In that quiet, fever-warm bubble, I saw it, the potential, the patchwork family we could stitch from scars. When Christopher burst through the door hours later, tie loosened, eyes wild, he stopped short at the sight. Us, intertwined like we'd always belonged. He dropped to his knees beside the couch, gathering Michael close, then reaching for me. "I can't do this without you," he whispered, tears carving tracks down his stubbled cheeks. "You're not second. You're the piece that makes it whole." The words unlocked something in me. Forgiveness, not blind, but earned in the crucible of fear. We held each other there, the boy between us, as rain lashed the windows, washing away the winter's grime. Spring unfurled tentative, cherry blossoms dusting the park paths like confetti for second chances. The custody hearing came and went, joint agreement, therapy mandated, no villains named. Emily and Christopher found a fragile truce, her barbs dulled by time and Michael's insistent joy. Alex drew the best dragon, the boy declared in family sessions. His cast long shed, but the artwork framed on the fridge. I moved back in, boxes unpacked with ritual care, our life resuming with new rhythms. School runs shared, bedtime stories trios. Nights where Christopher's hand on my thigh echoed that first Miami spark, now deepened by vows unspoken. It wasn't perfect. Arguments flared over holidays, insecurities whispered in quiet hours, but it was human, laced with the grit and grace of real love. On Michael's 11th birthday, under a June sky streaked with sunset, we gathered at a Central Park picnic. Cake smudged with frosting, laughter ringing like bells. Christopher caught my eye across the blanket, his hand finding mine under the cover of a shared jacket. "Thank you," he mouthed, and in that gaze, I saw the arc complete. From poolside strangers to this, a family forged in fire. As the sun dipped, painting us in gold, I realized the truth. Love isn't the absence of betrayal or conflict, but the choice to rebuild from the ruins. We'd chosen each other, Michael the bridge between our worlds, and in that American dream of reinvention, flawed, fierce, forever, we found our way home. The summer after Michael's birthday stretched lazy and luminous, the kind of season that tricks you into believing permanence. We escaped to the Hamptons for a week. Christopher's splurge on a borrowed beach house, white clabbered against dunes that whispered of old money and new beginnings. Mornings, I'd wake to the crash of waves and the scent of salt-kissed skin, Christopher's arms slung heavy across my waist, his breath steady against my neck. Michael, ever the explorer, would burst in with sandy toes and demands for pancakes shaped like starfish, turning our king bed into a chaotic kingdom of syrup and giggles. Those days were idols etched in sunscreen and sea glass. We'd build forts from driftwood on the shore, Michael directing with the solemnity of a child architect, while Christopher and I stole glances that spoke volumes. Promises renewed in the tilt of a smile, the brush of knuckles underwater during family swims. Evenings brought bonfires, sparks dancing like fireflies as Michael roasted marshmallows to charred perfection, regaling us with tales of pirate adventures he'd totally lived in his dreams. Emily called once, voice clipped but civil, coordinating a midweek visit that Christopher handled with the grace of a man who'd learned to navigate minefields. I watched him with Michael, the easy affection in a tousled head rub or a piggyback race across the sand, and felt the last vestiges of doubt dissolve. This was fatherhood unfiltered, messy, joyous, the raw pulse of legacy. And me? I was the quiet constant, the one who sketched maps for treasure hunts or bandaged scraped knees with exaggerated pirate accents. Michael started calling me Alex the Brave, a title that swelled my chest with something fiercer than pride, belonging, bone deep. But idols breed complacency, and beneath the sun-bleached calm, fissures simmered. Back in the city, August heat wave pressing like a fever, Christopher's work ramped up. A big development deal in Jersey, deadlines that bled into dawns. He'd stumble home at odd hours, shedding his suit like a second skin, collapsing beside me with apologies murmured into pillows. "It's temporary," he'd say, nuzzling my collarbone, and I'd believe him because wanting to was easier than fearing the alternative. One night, scrolling through emails while he showered off the day's grime, a notification pinged. A calendar invite from Emily. Co-parenting check-in Michael's school transition. Casual, innocuous, but attached was a photo. Michael at a science fair, beaming beside a volcano model, Christopher in the background, arm casually around her shoulders as they clapped. My thumb hovered, zooming in on that touch. Familiar, unthinking, the residue of years. Jealousy, that old serpent coiled tight. I waited until he emerged, towel slung low, droplets tracing paths down his chest. Another check-in with Emily? My tone was light, or so I aimed, but it landed jagged. He paused, rubbing a hand over his damp hair. Yeah, routine stuff. Why? I showed him the photo, the screen glowing accusatory in the lamplight. His face shifted, surprise, then irritation. It's nothing, Alex. Pat on the back. You're reading into it. The argument ignited slow, then fierce, words hurled like driftwood in a squall. I'm not blind, I shot back, voice rising to match the traffic hum outside. Every time things get hard, you lean on her, the history, the ease, What am I, Christopher? The fun side piece when custody's calm. He recoiled as if slapped, eyes flashing hurt. That's not fair. You're twisting this. Emily's Michael's mom. We have to make it work for him. But his defense cracked, admitting in a whisper, I don't want to lose you, but I can't lose her either, not as his mother. The room chilled despite the humidity, our bed that night a continent of space. I tossed through sweat-damp sheets, replaying the photo, the arm, the ease. By morning, he'd left a coffee on the nightstand with a note. Let's talk tonight. I love you. Simple words, but they anchored me through the day, freelance deadlines blurring into a haze of pixels and doubt. We talked, raw and ragged over takeout from that Thai place, the one where confessions had first soured. He owned the slip, the comfort of old patterns, the pull of shared parenthood, and vowed boundaries. No more unvetted photos, therapy for all three of us. I confessed my fears, the echo of Jake's abandonment making every shadow loom larger. By dessert, we were laughing through tears, hands entwined across the sticky table, recommitting with the fervor of survivors. September brought reinvention. Family counseling in a sunlit office overlooking the Hudson, where Michael fidgeted with action figures while we unpacked the weight of blended lives. The therapist, a no-nonsense woman with a Brooklyn edge, called it reparenting, teaching us to nurture the family we were becoming. Michael thrived there, drawing us as superheroes. Christopher the shield, me the strategist, Emily a distant ally in the sky. His innocence disarmed us, forcing honesty without the barbs. Yet conflict brewed on subtler fronts. My career stuttered. A major client bailed, citing vibe shifts that felt like code for my divided attention. Nights bled into design marathons, takeout wrappers piling like accusations. Christopher, sensing the strain, surprised me with a weekend in the city that never sleeps. Wait, no, we were already there. Instead, a staycation. Spa treatments, rooftop dinners, reclaiming Manhattan as our playground. On a crisp fall evening, atop the high line with the skyline glittering like a promise, he pulled me close amid the rustle of leaves. We're in this, he murmured, lips brushing my ear. All the mess, but betrayal's shadow lengthened. October's chill carried whispers. A mutual friend at a gallery opening, eyes darting as he mentioned seeing Christopher and Emily at a PDA event, looking cozy. Cozy. The word festered. I didn't confront immediately, chose trust instead, burying it under Michael's Halloween costume fittings, where he insisted on a trio theme. Pirates. Naturally. We sailed the neighborhood that All Hallows Eve, candy halls bulging, laughter chasing away ghosts. The unraveling hit in November, election night irony as the country fractured. Our world teetered. I'd landed a pitch for a queer-lit mag, cover art evoking resilience amid chaos, and Christopher promised to celebrate. But he texted late, stuck at Emily's. Michael's got the flu again. Rain check. Rain check turned to ghosting. No call, no update. Worry morphed to rage. At 2 a.m., I cabbed to her brownstone in Park Slope, the streets slick with fallen leaves, heart pounding like a war drum. The door opened to Emily, robe cinched tight, hair tousled. Alex? What? Behind her, Christopher on the couch, Michael curled asleep against him, a damp cloth on the boy's forehead. The scene domestic, intimate, a tableau I'd intruded upon. He didn't answer, I said, voice hollow. Christopher rose, careful not to wake the kid, and stepped into the hall, closing the door soft. I'm sorry, came on fast, fever spiked. I didn't want to worry you. Worry. The understatement ignited me. You could have texted, called, anything. My whisper hissed, fists clenched. He reached for me, but I stepped back. This is what it looks like, isn't it? You here, playing house while I wait like some placeholder. His face crumpled, pain etching lines I'd not seen before. No, God, no. You're my home. But the lie lingered in the air, thick as the scent of chamomile tea from within. We argued in hushed fury on the stoop, rain starting to spit, words slicing deep. My isolation, his divided heart, the impossibility of love without sacrifice. Choose, I demanded, tears hot on my cheeks. Him or us? He froze, eyes searching mine, then whispered, I can't choose. Michael's my blood. Blood. The final cut. I walked away into the downpour, blocks blurring. The cab ride home a sob-choked void. Days stretched to a week of radio silence. My world contracting to work and wine-fueled nights. Michael broke it with a drawing slipped under my door by a courier. A pirate ship with 3 figures. Dad, Alex, me, sails billowing toward a sunrise. A note in Christopher's scrawl. We need to talk. For him. For us. I went. Because love is a stubborn weed. Rooting despite frost. The cafe in Brooklyn was neutral, pumpkin spice haze softening edges. He looked wrecked. Stubble shadowing jaw. Eyes hollowed. Michael wasn't there. Emily had him for the day. I fucked up. He started, voice gravel. Not by choosing him, that's non-negotiable. But by making you feel like you're not chosen every day. He slid a folder across the table. Custody updates, therapy notes, a lease renewal for the apartment, my name beside his. This is me fighting. For all of it. I cried then, ugly and unashamed. The dam breaking on months of fear. We rebuilt from there. Boundaries etched in stone, date nights sacred, Michael's drawings the glue. But the climax loomed, inevitable as winter solstice. December dusted the city in sugar, holiday lights twinkling like hesitant stars against the encroaching dark. We leaned into the season tree-trimming marathons where Michael hung ornaments with tails attached, each bauble a memory we'd manufacture on the spot. Christopher and I found rhythm in the chaos. Stolen kisses amid tinsel tangles, midnight confessions over eggnog-spiked cocoa. The betrayal's scar tissue stretched taut but held. A reminder that healing is jagged, not linear. Yet Emily's presence lingered, a specter at the feast. Christmas Eve, she dropped Michael off early, eyes rimmed red, voice brittle. He's excited. Keeps talking about the family adventure. Adventure, our planned upstate cabin trip, a first for the 3 of us. Christopher nodded, awkward thanks exchanged. But as her taillights faded, he sagged against the doorframe. She's struggling. Therapy's stirring shit up. Regrets, what-ifs. I bit back jealousy, opting for empathy. Go easy on her. On us all. The cabin was magic. Snow-globed woods, a stone hearth crackling symphonies. Michael sled till rosy-cheeked exhaustion, building snow forts that doubled as dragon lairs. Nights, Christopher and I took turns reading by firelight, his head on my lap, fingers tracing lazy patterns on my knee. One evening, as flakes swirled outside, Michael piped up from his perch. Are you guys gonna get married? Like in the movies? The question hung innocent grenade. Christopher chuckled, ruffling the boy's hair. Someday, maybe, if Alex says yes. I met his gaze, heart full, and whispered, count on it. New Year's dawned crisp. Resolutions whispered in the gray light. Back in the city, life pulsed forward. My mag cover launched to acclaim. Christopher closed the jersey deal with a bonus that funded a ring. Simple platinum, etched with coordinates of that Miami pool. But under the champagne fizz, tension coiled. Emily requested a sit-down, for Michael's sake, and Christopher agreed against my murmured caution. The meeting at a neutral diner in Queens was civil on surface. Menus perused, coffees black. But her agenda surfaced quick. Michael's asking questions about why his dads aren't together. Dads, plural. The slip, or was it? Landed like frostbite. Christopher stiffened. Alex's family. That's clear. Emily's smile didn't reach her eyes. Is it? He comes to us when it's convenient, but last month, when Michael had that nightmare. You called me, not him. The accusation slithered, truth wrapped in venom. Christopher had, middle-of-night panic, instinct pulling him to the ex who knew the boy's every whimper. I wasn't there that night, buried in revisions, but the echo stung. Communication, Christopher deflected, but the seed sprouted doubt anew. Home that night, I pressed. Was she right? He sighed. Heavy. It was reflex. Old habits. Doesn't mean you're less. relentless. The word echoed Jake's ghost, and I retreated to the studio, brushes slashing canvas in furious strokes. Abstract storms of blue and betrayal. January's bite sharpened edges. Work swallowed us. My gallery show looming, Christopher jetting to Miami for a follow-up conference. The irony not lost. Come with, he urged over breakfast, Michael's chatter a buffer. I declined, citing deadlines, but truth was fear. That pool bar pull, the temptation of escape. He left with a kiss that lingered, promising daily calls, photos of sunsets to bridge the miles. The first night, his text, hotel bars empty without you. Thinking of that hand on your thigh. Heat flushed despite the cold snap. But by day 3, calls shortened, busy with meetings, and worry gnawed. On a whim, I searched his conference hashtag on socials, heart sinking at a photo. Christopher at a networking mixer, arm around a colleague. Male, mid-40s, laugh thrown back. Emily tagged in the comments with a winking emoji. Harmless or harbinger? I didn't accuse, chose trust's fragile thread. But the call that night was strained. My questions veiled. Everything good? Yeah, just tired. The disconnect yawned. He returned early, flowers in hand, apologies for the silence. Deal stress. We made love that night, urgent and reclaiming, but dawn brought the real confession. The colleague, Mark, an old flame from Atlanta days, resurfaced with drinks and nostalgia. Nothing happened, Christopher swore, eyes pleading, but it stirred shit. Memories of hiding, of easy lies. Betrayal's flavor shifted. Not Emily's domain, but his past siren call. Am I enough? I asked, voice small in the vast bedroom. He pulled me close, fierce. More than. You're the truth I chose. We doubled down on us. Couples weekends, no phone zones. But the crack widened, stress fracturing facades. February's Valentine's was a bomb. Rooftop dinner under heated lamps, city sprawl at our feet. He proposed there, ring glinting like a captured star, knee bent amid waitstaff applause. Marry me, Alex. Make this forever. Tears blurred the skyline as I said yes, the kiss sealing vows against the wind. Michael, in on the secret, presented a handmade card next morning. Congrats, pirates forever. But climax crests unbidden. March Madness, my show opening to crowds, Christopher's promotion announced, coincided with Michael's spring break custody swap. Emily planned a Disney trip, her mom-son bonding, but begged Christopher join for the boys' sake. One last family hurrah, she framed, voice honeyed over speakerphone. He wavered, eyes on me for permission I couldn't grant. Go, I said, throat tight. For him. He left with hugs and promises, Florida bound. The apartment echoed empty, my success hollow without his hand in mine. Texts trickled, Mickey's ecstatic, Space Mountain all day. Then, a photo dump, trio selfies on rides, Emily's head on his shoulder during fireworks, Michael's joy the alibi. Rage boiled slow. By day 4, silence, phone dead, worry spiking. I called Emily, voicemail. Hospitals? No record. Panic clawed. He surfaced at midnight, key turning in the lock, face gaunt. What happened? I demanded, rising from the couch where I'd vigil kept. Michael trailed, exhausted, clutching a Mickey plush. Storm canceled flights. Stayed an extra night. Stayed. With her. The unsaid screamed. Why didn't you call? Battery died. It was chaos. Lies layered thin. The fight exploded. Michael's door clicked shut just in time. You chose her again. The family fantasy over us. I roared, volume cracking. He matched, desperation fueling fire. It was one night. For him. But confession spilled. The hotel room shared. Platonic, he swore. But the intimacy. The late talks over wine. Emily's tears about loneliness. His comfort given too freely. I held her. That's all. But it felt safe. Safe. The blade twisted. And I'm the risk? The one who makes you feel alive but scared shitless. He broke then, sinking to the floor, head in hands. I don't know how to do this. Love you without losing them. The truth gutted us both. His heart a divided kingdom, my place forever contested. I left that night, crashing at the gallery after hours, canvases my cold companions. Days bled to a week, mediation via texts. Logistics for Michael, ring returned by mail. The boy sensed, drawings turning somber, ships adrift on stormy seas. Emily reached out, surprising. He's a mess, blames himself. Her olive branch, or ploy, didn't matter. The damage rooted deep. April's renewal mocked us, flowers blooming while we withered. Christopher fought, flowers at my door, pleas in voicemails. I choose you, every time. But trust, once shattered, rebuilds slow. We met in neutral ground. The park, bench where we'd first picnicked. Michael between swinging legs, oblivious bridge. I want both, Christopher said, voice raw. You, him, us as something new. I searched his eyes, seeing the man who'd sparked at a pool bar, evolved through fire. Fight for it, I whispered. No half measures. He nodded, vow sealed in a handclasp that trembled with hope. May unfurled tentative petals, the city shedding winter's husk for tentative greens. We tiptoed back. Dinners as threesomes, no overnights, boundaries sketched like battle lines. Michael mediated unwittingly, his chatter a balm. When's the wedding? Can I be ring pirate? Laughter bridged gaps, but nights alone, doubt whispered. Was this salvage or surrender? Christopher dove into repair. Individual therapy unpacking his closet scars. Group sessions where Emily aired grievances without venom. She softened, admitting her barbs stemmed from grief, not hate. I want him happy, she told me over coffee. First neutral parley. Even if it's with you. The concession cracked my armor. Perhaps enemies could evolve to allies. My gallery show Afterglow faded into new commissions, designs for queer nonprofits that channeled pain into purpose. Work became anchor, strokes of color mirroring internal storms. Christopher joined one session, his presence a quiet force, sharing how coming out midlife felt like tectonic shift. Alex grounded me, he said, hand finding mine. The therapist nodded. Love as witness. June's solstice heat mirrored rising tensions. Wedding plans crept in, small courthouse affair with beach honeymoon echo. But Michael's school play loomed. Lead in The Little Mermaid. Ariel's voice cracking with preteen earnestness. Rehearsals clash schedules. Christopher missed one. Emily covered. Gratitude texts flying. I attended the next. Backstage with props. But the seed of exclusion sprouted. Family night invites excluding me. Polite oversights or pointed. The performance night, auditorium buzzing. I sat front row, heart swelling as Michael transformed. Red wig askew, tail fin flapping defiance. Post curtain, hugs abounded. Emily beaming, Christopher scooping the boy high. Then, a photo op with cast parents, me on periphery camera shy. Join us, Christopher called, arm extended. I did, the frame capturing for fractured but forming. After party at a diner, milkshakes and medals, Michael's high infectious. Emily raised a glass, soda fizz. To breakthroughs. Toasts circled. Tentative camaraderie blooming. Later, walking home under street lamps, Christopher murmured, See, we can do this. I leaned into him, believing, if briefly. July's inferno tested resolve. A heat dome trapped us indoors, AC humming dirges. Christopher's firm sent him to LA for a week. Expansion talks, and absence amplified cracks. Calls crackled with static, his voice distant amid boardroom echoes. Michael and I bonded solo. Movie marathons, ice cream socials, his questions probing, Why'd you fight? Dads are supposed to stick. I answered honest, age-appropriate. Love's hard work, kiddo, but worth it. Christopher returned bronzed, bearing souvenirs. Dodgers cap for Michael, a conch shell for me. Echoes of Miami. We renewed vows that night, ring reclaimed, bodies reaffirming in sweat-slick sheets. But dawn brought Emily's text. Urgent. Call. Michael's ear infection. Antibiotics needed. She was swamped at work. Christopher bolted, Pharmacy run turning to overnight vigil. I understood parental instinct, but the pattern chafed me, the perpetual backup. Confrontation brewed over breakfast. Michael at camp. I feel like the third wheel in my own life, I admitted, cereal soggy. He reached across. Ernest. You're the hub. Without you, it spins off. Words soothed, action followed. A no-solo overnight pact. Emily looped in via group chat. Progress, incremental. August waned, humid, back-to-school frenzy. Shopping sprees yielded notebooks, sneakers. Michael's excitement a whirlwind. One afternoon, unpacking supplies, he unearthed the ring box, forgotten in a drawer. For real. Eyes wide. Christopher knelt. When the time's right, with you cheering loudest. The boys nod solemn. Promise Alex won't leave again? Promise. The word waited. Vacation redux. Cape Cod. Rented cottage with widow's walk views. Days of kayaking, clam bakes. Nights of stargazing, Michael's telescope unveiling constellations. One evening, bonfire crackling, he asked about my tattoo. Resilient. I shared Jake's shadow, the rebuild. Christopher added his layer. Divorce's abyss. Emily's echo via postcard. Enjoy. Give Mick a kiss. No barbs. Evolution. But climax coils eternal. September's equinox brought storm clouds. Literal. Lashing rain. Christopher's promotion demanded relocation tease. Miami office lead. Better pay. Closer to roots. Think about it. He broached over dinner, Michael's fork pausing. Opportunity gleamed, but uprooting? My career rooted east, Michael's school thriving. Family vote, I countered, masking panic. Debate raged. Pros, sun, space. Cons, upheaval, Emily's proximity. Michael voted yes, eyes sparkling at beach dreams. Emily neutral, whatever's best for him. Nights, Christopher and I wrestled sheets, arguments bleeding to passion, fear fueling fire. Is this running? I whispered once, post-climax gasp. Or chasing better? October's foliage turned torch, decision deadline looming. A weekend in the city that birthed us. Manhattan escape, decided nothing, only deepened divide. Dinner at our first spot, carbonara congealing as voices rose. You want the easy out, I accused, fork down. Sunshine to mask the mess. He fired back. You want stasis, safe but stagnant. Michael, home with sitter, texted a heart emoji, innocent prod. Betrayals guys shifted. Not infidelity, but ambition's pull, threatening our fragile weave. Choose, I echoed old demand. Tears salting pasta. He softened, hand over mine. You, always, but let's find middle, commute, compromise. The olive branch bent, not broke. November's chill heralded Thanksgiving. First joint with Emily, neutral turf her apartment. Table set bountiful. Turkey, tensions. Toasts clinked awkward. Michael's gratitude list including all my parents. Laughter followed, wine loosening tongues. Post-feast walk, Christopher and I lagged, breath fogging. We're doing it, he said, squeeze affirming. But the real storm broke December 1st. Firm ultimatum, Miami or bust. Christopher agonized, pacing nights. Christmas morning, gifts unwrapped, he gathered us. We stay, for now. Relief flooded, but undercurrent tugged. Resentments whisper, sacrifices cost. January 2026 dawned resolute. Therapy intensified, dreams dissected. My work flourished, book cover deal, queer romance arc mirroring ours. Christopher negotiated remote hybrid, Miami visits sparse. Michael thrived, bridging with ease. February's frost tested. Emily's new beau emerged. Kind accountant. Michael's thumbs up. Jealousy flipped. Christopher's relief mine too. See? Space heals. March's thaw brought proposal redux. Proper, park pavilion under cherry haze. Michael ringbearer, Emily witness, united front. Yes, I breathed, ring sliding home. Yet humanism tempers triumph. April's renewal carried scars. Doubts dormant, not dead. We vowed vigilance, love as verb. May's bloom masked undercurrents. Wedding date set for June. Intimate, beachside echo in Jersey Shore. Invite sent. Friends, family, Emily as aunt figure. Michael's role. Flower boy with pirate flair. Petals tossed with flair. Preparations danced chaotic joy. Tux fittings, cake tastings, vows penned in stolen moments. One evening, rehearsal dinner proxy. Backyard barbecue at ours. Emily arrived solo, beau absent. He gets the family dynamic, she quipped, salad in hand. Toasts turned tender, her speech. To second acts, better scripted. Christopher teared, arm around me. Michael cheered, pirates rule. Wedding dawn broke golden, waves lapping like applause. Vows exchanged barefoot on sand. Christopher's. You pulled me from shadows, made light of fragments. Mine. You taught resilience is shared, scars our map. Rings exchanged, kiss salt-kissed, Michael's whoop-piercing cheers. Honeymoon. Miami return, full circle. Hotel pool bar revisited. His hand on my thigh deliberate now, vow renewed. Nights tangled, days exploring Key West sunsets, Everglades whispers. Back, life settled. Merged finances, joint therapy fading to check-ins. But humanism demands depth, not fairy dust, but grit. July's heat wave sparked spat. Budget strain from wedding, my freelance dip. Priorities. I snapped, old insecurities flaring. He countered calm. Team. Mediation. Date night mandated. Books balanced. August's languor brought Michael's tween shift. Crushes confessed. Like you and Dad? Heart full. Guidance gentle. Love finds its shore. September's school start. October's foliage. Routines rooted. Emily's bow integrated, playdates blended. Thanksgiving quartet. Harmony hard won. November 2026. Anniversary trip. Berkshire's cabin redux. Firelit. Christopher reflected. Betrayals taught fidelity to self, us. I nodded. Humanity's the arc. Flawed. Forward. December's lights twinkled promise. Michael's holiday play. Family theme. Us an audience, hands clasped. Post-show, his hug. Best pirates ever. January's resolve. Resolutions collective. Adventures. Amends. February's chill. Love warmed steady. March's equinox, we hosted Emily's birthday small, sincere. Laughter bridged old chasms. April's showers, May's flowers. Life cycled. Enriched by trials. June 2027. Michael's bar mitzvah? Wait, no, secular rite. Us affirming his light. Speeches soared. Christopher's pride. My family chosen. Emily's unbreakable bond. Years blurred. Promotions, travels, Michael's teens testing. First crush boy. Our support unwavering. Emily remarried. Us at wedding, toasts reciprocal. Betrayals faded to lore. Fuel for growth. Climax? Daily choices affirming. Humanistic close. No perfection, but presence. In a Brooklyn brownstone, pool bar memory etched, we built enduring, love's quiet revolution, American as reinvention. One dusk, park bench. Grands? No future gleams. Christopher's hand in mine. Michael's laugh distant. Echoes of blue, forever home.